1 week before the wedding, my fiancé, who was away on a business trip, called me and broke up with me over the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just said, "As you wish." 5 days later, he rushed back, looking disheveled, with a guilty-looking intern trailing behind him. "I'm so sorry, Heather. That day, Mr. Alexis lost a bet during a game, so I told him to call you and break up as part of the dare." I calmly asked her to leave. Alexis nervously wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes, then turned to glare at me. "It was just a joke. Why are you acting so crazy?" I lowered my eyes and said nothing. "The wedding was already cancelled, and now you're telling me it was just a joke." I watched Alexis shield Jennifer behind him like I was some kind of monster. He was so protective, so gentle with her. And yet, I was the one he used to protect like that. Jennifer peeked out from behind him, looking straight at me. Her eyes were full of challenge, but her voice was so pitiful it almost made me feel guilty. "It was my fault. Don't blame Mr. Alexis. If you're really mad, just yell at me instead." Alexis immediately softened. "How is it your fault? We agreed to take responsibility together, didn't we? Don't mind her. This is all on me. I spoiled her too much, now she throws tantrums over the smallest things." I fought back tears. Alexis once told me that as long as he was around, I could be myself, no need to hold back or suffer in silence. Now, just asking Jennifer to leave meant I was being dramatic? I let out a cold laugh. "Well then, I wish you two a perfect match, may the bitch and the bastard live happily ever after." Jennifer's face turned red with shame, eyes brimming with tears. Alexis glared at me like he wanted to tear me apart. "Heather, are you trying to push me?" I bit my lip, refusing to let them see me cry. Choking back my anger, I said in a cold voice. "Still here? What, you want me to host your wedding right here, right now?" Alexis was shaking with rage. He wrapped an arm around Jennifer and slammed the door on his way out. Tears streamed down my face. I loosened the grip of my clenched fist, only to realize my palm was purple from how hard I'd been squeezing it. Everyone always said the 7-year itch was hard to get through. Turns out it's true. He no longer had the patience to comfort me. Alexis didn't come back until the next morning. He looked exhausted and a little irritated. He placed a food container in front of me. "All right, enough with the attitude. You haven't had breakfast, right? My mom made some porridge. I brought it just for you." I said nothing, opened the container, took one glance, and threw it straight into the trash. It was filled to the brim with seafood porridge. I'm severely allergic to seafood. But Alexis once mentioned that his assistant loves it. Seeing this, he panicked for a second, but still tried to save face. "Maybe the chef made a mistake. After we go try on your dress later, I'll take you out to eat." I gave a faint smile. No need to try on the dress. I already cancelled the wedding. Maybe my indifference finally pushed him. His eyes lit with fury as he kicked over the chair in front of me. "Heather, don't push your luck. Aren't you afraid I'll actually call off this wedding for real?" He didn't even wait for a reply before storming into the bathroom. Truthfully, I used to be afraid. 2 months ago, when he was working late, I went to his office to surprise him. And walked in on him with Jennifer sitting on his lap, kissing her like he couldn't get enough. There was a hunger in his eyes I hadn't seen directed at me in a long time. I froze, turned, and stumbled out in shock. Right then, I knew.
This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Shortstory. Please credit when sharing.
This man, who had been part of my life for 7 years, had completely betrayed me. I didn't expose him immediately because my younger brother, who had leukemia, still needed treatment. I sat down at the table, pulled out a blank sheet of paper, and started writing the words "I owe you." Just as I finished, Alexis walked out from his shower. He hugged me from behind and placed a property deed in front of me. "A wedding gift. Do you like it?" I opened it, took a glance, then shut my eyes and tossed it back at him. The same property deed I saw on Jennifer's Instagram yesterday. How convenient, keeping your wife and your mistress in the same building. Guess he didn't care how disgusting that was. When he saw I wasn't moved, he didn't get angry. He kissed my forehead gently. "What, you don't like it? Then when we have time, we'll go pick out another place together." "No need." I cut him off and handed him the IOU. This is for my brother's medical bills over the years. I'll find a way to pay you back. His expression darkened. He tore up the IOU and threw the pieces in my face. Heather, my patience has limits. Keep pushing me, and your brother's future treatments don't count on me. You don't know yet, do you? I interrupted him, forcing back tears and looking him straight in the eyes. My brother, he's already gone. Half a month ago, the night Alexis left for that business trip, the hospital called. My brother's condition had worsened. He was in critical care. It was raining that night. I didn't even have time to grab an umbrella, I just ran out into the storm. I was in such a rush I lost one of my shoes on the way. The doctor said we needed to arrange surgery immediately. They'd finally found a matching bone marrow donor. But the surgery would cost $500,000. I called Alexis. Jennifer answered. Mr. Alexis had too much to drink. He's asleep. I didn't even ask why she was the one answering. I just cried and begged her to wake him up, that I needed money. When Alexis took the phone, he was clearly annoyed. Heather, it's late. Whatever it is, just say it tomorrow. He didn't even let me explain. He hung up. When I called back, no one picked up. I sat in the hospital hallway, hugging my knees from midnight until dawn. Until I watched my brother take his last breath right in front of me. I collapsed in front of him, crying until I passed out. When I woke up, I knew it was over. Alexis sat with his head down, pale and silent. He didn't ask why I hadn't told him. As if he'd forgotten how many times I called that night. Not that it mattered. No one picked up. And when he finally looked at me, whatever guilt he felt was already gone. You should be grateful. If it weren't for me, your brother wouldn't have made it this far. That cold tone lit the fire in me. I raised my hand and slapped him with everything I had. 7 years. Every fight, I'd always wanted to do that. But every time, I was the one who lowered myself and begged for peace. Alexis's face darkened. He pointed at the door and told me to get out. He thought I'd kneel like before, begging him to let me stay. But he forgot. My brother was gone. There was nothing left for me to beg for. I grabbed my suitcase, which I'd already packed, and walked out without looking back. I met Alexis when we were both abroad. He was a fallen young heir, cut off financially after falling out with his parents. And I was a student working part-time to support myself. Anyone could see, we were from completely different worlds. He cornered me at the school gate to confess his feelings, and I responded with nothing but an eye roll. He brought me flowers, and I threw them straight into the trash right in front of him. I told him he'd go back to inherit his family's business sooner or later, so there was no need to waste time playing love games with me. But he was stubborn. He gritted his teeth and stayed, for 3 whole years. Just as we were about to graduate, I got the news: my younger brother, the one who had been with me through everything, was diagnosed with leukemia. The treatment would cost a fortune. I broke down in tears, completely overwhelmed. He held me tightly and told me to calm down, promising he'd cover the expenses. He took me back with him, got down on his knees in front of his father, and begged him to save my brother's life. My brother once held his hand and asked if he was going to marry me. I still remember the firm look in his eyes when he said I was the only person he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. But now, he's the one telling me to get lost. Those 3 years abroad were the best time of our lives. We had no money, renting a small, dark basement room. We were so broke we had to think twice before buying even a single vegetable. But every night, he'd hold me and tell me stories from his past. We laughed together, cried together. Back then, we were each other's whole world. After we came back, he took over the family business. He had the house, the money, and never had to worry about anything again. But we grew distant. There was less and less to say. 3 months ago, he suddenly started talking to me more. I thought we were finding our way back to how we used to be. He didn't even realize he was mentioning Jennifer more and more. He kept saying how smart she was, how she reminded him of the old me. I thought he just admired her. I didn't expect she would eventually take my place. Miss Heather, you're suffering from severe depression. I really hope you'll take treatment seriously. The doctor's words pulled me back to reality. I forced a bitter smile. I'll cooperate with the treatment. These days, I haven't been able to sleep at all. Every time I close my eyes, I see the look in my brother's eyes, desperate to live, right before he passed away. I'm terrified of sleeping. So I just sit there crying, whispering into the darkness over and over. I'm sorry. I'm useless. I couldn't save you. Miss Heather, I really suggest you reach out to family. It would be best if someone could stay with you. With this level of depression, you're at high risk of suicidal thoughts. I shook my head. I don't have any family left. When I walked out of the office, I bumped right into Jennifer. She smiled, fake as ever. Heather, what a coincidence. You're not feeling well either? I was just feeling a little dizzy, but Alexis insisted on leaving work to bring me to the hospital. She glanced behind me and caught sight of the sign, Psychiatry Department. She gasped and covered her mouth. Heather, don't tell me you're so upset from fighting with Alexis that you had to see a psychiatrist? That overly dramatic shocked expression made my stomach turn. What does it have to do with you? I had no patience to watch her act. I stepped around her, trying to leave. But someone grabbed my wrist. Alexis had appeared behind me at some point, his face dark and stormy. You're not feeling well, why didn't you tell me? I let out a cold laugh. What, Mr. Alexis suddenly has time to play doctor for someone who doesn't matter anymore? His eyes flashed with anger, but he tried to hold it in. He gritted his teeth and grabbed my hand. Don't be ridiculous. You're my wife. You matter more than anything. Come on, I'll take you home. Before I could shake him off, Jennifer clutched her forehead and leaned against the wall. Mr. Alexis, I'm feeling really dizzy. Don't worry about me, take Heather home first. Alexis looked at me, expressionless, and finally let go. Heather, just go home first. Don't go wandering around. Stay put and wait for me. He turned and held Jennifer up. Not once did he look back. As I watched him walk away, I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. For a split second, I almost told him, I'm exhausted. I don't know how much longer I can take this. But I didn't. Because to him, I'm just someone he can abandon at any time. As I passed by the OBGYN clinic, a young couple brushed past me. The man was shielding his wife with such care, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. His gaze held a love so deep, like he wished he could merge her into his very soul. My eyes welled up. That kind of love, I had it once, too. And maybe that's why losing it felt like my skin was being peeled away and my bones shattered. I stared at the sleeping pills in my hand. Hopelessness drowned me like a tidal wave. I locked myself in the bathroom. Took each pill out, one by one, and placed them in my mouth. For me, death was the only escape. But I didn't die. When I came to, I threw up everything. I rushed to the sink, scooping water into my mouth as if I could wash the pain away. Looking at my swollen eyes in the mirror, I let out a bitter laugh. Let's treat it as if I died and came back. From now on, I'll live for myself. I stumbled home, my own home. When our parents passed away, they left my brother and me a tiny apartment. In the worst of years, I thought about selling it. It was Alexis who begged me not to. He said, as long as I had this place, I'd always have a home. And he was right. This little 30-square-meter place was all I had left. My only safe haven. No one had been here in a long time. Dust covered everything. I used up every bit of strength cleaning it top to bottom. I collapsed on the couch and fell asleep instantly. Until the phone rang, urgently. Alexis's voice on the other end was angry. Heather, do you have any concept of time? Everyone's waiting for you. My mind was foggy. It took a while before I remembered, it was his father's birthday today. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. If it weren't for Alexis's father hiring the best doctors to treat my brother, no amount of money could have saved him. You repay kindness. His family didn't live nearby. I washed my face quickly, didn't even have time to change clothes, and rushed out. Panting, I arrived, only to see Jennifer already there. The table was full of food. She and Alexis sat beside his father, smiling and laughing. The atmosphere was so warm, it looked like they were the real family. Expressionless, I placed my gift in front of his father. Jennifer jumped up, pretending to panic. I'm so sorry. I just noticed Mr. Alexis's father looked upset, so I took your seat without asking. I looked at her and let out a mocking laugh. Jennifer, you like taking things so much, why don't I give you Alexis too? Alexis stared at me like I'd lost my mind. What kind of nonsense are you spouting now? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Didn't you say you wanted to break up, Mr. Alexis? I already agreed. This is what you wanted. I turned to leave, but Jennifer blocked my way. Calm down. Just because you're seeing a psychiatrist doesn't mean you can bite everyone you meet. Alexis's father, who had been silent, finally let out a sneer. Your parents gave birth to a half-dead sick kid, and now there's you, a lunatic. Just one sentence, and he hit all three of my nerves. He never liked me. Thought I wasn't good enough for Alexis. Thought my brother was a burden. He'd mocked him to my face more than once. For the sake of what he did for my brother, I always held it in. But not today. I pointed at him, eyes burning. Say that again, you old bastard. He flew into a rage, grabbed a bowl from the table, and hurled it at me. I dodged, but the shattered porcelain still cut my face. Jennifer covered her mouth, looking shocked. How can you be like this? So uncivilized. Her eyes sparkled with glee, even as she pretended to be concerned. I looked at the steaming food on the table and couldn't help but laugh. You want to talk about being uncivilized? Then let this so-called classy whore get a taste of what real trashy looks like. I dragged her over to the table, grabbed her chin, and forced an entire plate of food into her mouth. Watching her eyes go wide as she shook her head in terror gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. But strangely, she didn't seem genuinely afraid. So when she screamed and lunged at me, ready to fight back, I bent down, picked up a piece of shattered porcelain from the floor, and pressed it against her neck. I laughed, wild and unhinged. Jennifer, did you not know? The doctor said I have severe depression. In other words, even if I kill you today, I probably won't be held responsible. Jennifer froze in shock, let out a weird screech, and threw herself into Alexis' arms. But Alexis pushed her away without hesitation, completely ignoring the fact that she was trembling in fear. His eyes locked on mine, and his voice trembled as he asked. What are you talking about? What do you mean, severe depression? I suddenly felt annoyed, glanced at him lazily, and didn't bother explaining. I just turned and walked away. By the time Alexis chased me downstairs, I had already gotten into a passing taxi. He banged on the window, eyes slightly red, voice soft and pleading. Don't be like this, you feel like a stranger, and it scares me. I was wrong. Can we please just talk? I coldly told the driver to go. The car sped off, leaving Alexis standing in the wind, looking utterly lost. I stayed home, dazed and disoriented, for 3 days. During those 3 days, the thought of ending it all came and went in my mind, again and again. When I first found out my little brother was sick, I already had signs of mild depression. Over the years, it was Alexis who kept pulling me back whenever I was drowning in pain. But eventually, he became numb too. Sometimes, when I was upset, he'd just tell me to stop being dramatic. He called me dozens of times. I ignored every one of them. Just like he used to ignore me. He even came to my place, banging on the door like a madman. I pressed my back against it, covered my mouth, trying not to let him hear me cry. Then came the messages through the door. He asked why I canceled the wedding. Was it because he joked about breaking up, or because he didn't pick up the phone that night? He said he knew he messed up, but I shouldn't hold it against him. He'd always done everything I asked for my brother, this was just one mistake. Was I really going to throw away our 7 years for that? He begged me to forgive him. Said my brother would be sad if he knew I was acting like this. The screen lit up and went dark again in the pitch-black room. My knuckles turned white from gripping the phone so hard. But that wasn't it. My brother, he had a real chance to live. It wasn't me who destroyed our love, it was him, the man who had emotionally checked out long ago. I sent him just one message. Stop being dramatic. He never contacted me again. As proud as he was, he clearly understood the biting sarcasm behind those words. I made up my mind to find a job. I didn't have much money left, and besides, I needed something to distract me. I didn't go for an easy job. I started working as a server in a restaurant. The work was exhausting, I often had to stand for hours on end. But the physical fatigue helped dull the emotional pain. The owner was a rich young guy. I often found myself staring at him, he looked so much like the Alexis I used to know. So when he shyly asked if I had a boyfriend, I gave him a bitter smile and said I'd just gotten out of something that didn't end well.
You're listening to Love Short Story, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue.
He started being nice to me. He'd give me rides home after work, invite me to gatherings with his friends, do whatever he could to make me smile. I didn't reject his kindness, but I kept it strictly platonic. I never thought I'd see Alexis again, especially not at this trendy restaurant I knew he would have scoffed at. I was wiping down a table when he walked in, holding Jennifer's hand. A strand of hair fell across my forehead, covering my eyes. The owner was standing next to me and gently brushed it aside. I looked up with a smile, only to meet Alexis' furious gaze. He looked furious. His clenched fist made Jennifer cry out in pain. "Heather, who is he? Did you break up with me, for him?" I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I ignored his questions completely. With a polite smile, I gave a small nod and went back to wiping the table. Alexis clearly didn't like that. He snatched the rag from my hand and threw it to the floor. Then he grabbed my waist and pulled me into his arms. "Heather, how could you give me up for a guy like him?" I struggled, but he only held me tighter. When I looked up at him, the coldness in my eyes made him freeze. "Alexis, let go. We're over." He acted like he didn't hear me and kissed me. Tears fell on my face, sliding down my neck. "I don't accept this. You don't get to decide we're over on your own." The once bustling restaurant went silent, everyone now watching like it was some kind of romantic drama. I was pinned in his arms, unable to move. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jennifer standing there, frozen. She looked beautiful today, though her dress was now wrinkled from her own hands. Someone started clapping. Jennifer's expression darkened. She gently tugged on Alexis' sleeve, her voice trembling with a hint of tears. "Alexis, don't do this. It's my birthday, remember? You said." But Alexis yanked her hand away, his voice colder than ice. "Get lost. I'm talking to my wife." "Who said you could interrupt?" Jennifer went pale in an instant. People around us had started whispering and pointing. She trembled, but still stubbornly clung to Alexis' sleeve. "You said you'd take responsibility for me." I took the chance to break free and stepped back. When he saw the disappointment in my eyes, his anger flared. He grabbed Jennifer by the collar and threw her aside. She crashed into a table. The glasses shattered loudly. When she finally got up, everyone around her froze. Her expression was strange. Tiny shards of glass were embedded in her face, blood pouring down her cheeks. She looked around and spoke, voice shaking. "Alexis, it hurts." After putting Jennifer in the ambulance, Alexis stayed behind. The restaurant was empty now, just the two of us. I'll admit, I was scared. My eyes were filled with fear as I looked at him. He opened his arms and walked toward me, mumbling. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." I screamed. "Stop. Alexis, don't come any closer." He looked hurt, but stopped where he was. "What happened to us? I never cheated on you. Please, believe me." I let out a cold laugh and pulled up a video on my phone, of him and Jennifer, making out. I shoved it in front of him. "Are you going to tell me that's not you?" His fiery eyes went dim, replaced by panic. "It's not what you think. She seduced me." I lost control. "But I swear, we didn't actually sleep together or anything." I bent over, laughing so hard I cried. "So tell me, Alexis, what counts as cheating to you?" He was stunned, opened his mouth to explain, but no words came. "Alexis, some things, once they happen, can't be undone. We were together for 7 years. You got bored. You wanted something new. But you didn't have to ruin my brother's life for that." I stared into his eyes, my patience wearing thin. "So please, stay away from me. Just the sight of you makes me sick." As I walked out of the restaurant, Alexis trailed behind, still trying to explain. But when he saw the disgust in my eyes, he backed off. He stubbornly followed me, but the owner stepped in and blocked him. Usually calm and composed, Alexis suddenly lost it. He grabbed the owner's collar and shoved him aside. The owner wasn't having it and punched him in the face. The two of them started fighting like kids. I tried to stop them, but neither was willing to let go. It was ridiculous. I gave up and walked away. But as I turned the corner, they both suddenly stopped. They called out my name at the same time, voices hoarse. I turned back calmly and waved at them with a cool smile. Goodbye. For good. I quit my job and made up my mind to sell my house. I wanted to start fresh and continue chasing the dreams I left behind. Back then, I rushed back home before graduation because my brother was seriously ill. Now that there were no more attachments, I decided to return to school. I chose the same college I had originally planned to attend. The long flight was exhausting, but when I landed, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. I enjoyed the simple routine of my new life, and everything seemed to fall back into place. Unfortunately, this peaceful life didn't last long before Alexis appeared in front of me again. It had been 6 months since I last saw him, and he looked much more worn out. The confident young man I once knew now had faint wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. I didn't know how he found me, but when I saw him holding flowers at the school gate, I even felt a bit nauseous. But avoiding him wasn't my style, so after thinking it over, I decided to walk toward him. As soon as he saw me, the frustration on his face disappeared. He handed me the flowers, but I coldly tossed them to the ground. With red eyes, he pulled out an exquisite gift box and handed it to me. His expression was humble, almost pleading. Inside the box was a diamond necklace. To buy it, Alexis had worked for 2 months carrying trays in a restaurant. Before I left, I deliberately left it at his house. Perhaps from the long journey, the chain was tangled. Alexis stubbornly tried to untangle it, growing more frustrated, but the knots only became tighter. I reached out, took it from his hands, and with a little force, I snapped the chain in two. When I tossed it back to him, my face showed no emotion. Alexis, a broken chain can never be fixed. Just like a shattered mirror, it's impossible to put it back together. You should understand this, right? So, go. Don't make me lose all respect for you. Tears welled up in his eyes. When he looked up, his gaze met mine, which was cold and indifferent. He gave a bitter smile, and he looked completely drained of life. Can you invite me to your place? I didn't answer him, just silently turned and walked away. He followed me all the way to the door of my apartment. But when I tried to enter, I blocked him at the door. He stubbornly stood there, from daytime until late at night. It wasn't until the landlady, an elderly woman, knocked on the door and tried to convince me. Heather, he looks so pitiful. You're both young. Please talk it out, don't miss your chance with each other. Reluctantly, I stepped aside and signaled for him to come in. I didn't speak to him, just continued with what I was doing. He stood by the door, feeling helpless. But then his stomach grumbled. Sighing, I opened the fridge and asked what he wanted to eat. I want to have the tomato scrambled egg noodles you made. Back when we were overseas, vegetables were so expensive, we could only afford the cheapest tomatoes and eggs. That's when we ate tomato scrambled egg noodles the most. I was busy cooking the noodles in the kitchen while he stood by the door, talking nonstop about what happened after I left. He had fully taken over the company, and his parents were planning to travel the world after the new year. Jennifer had ruined her appearance, and he gave her a large sum of money to seek treatment abroad. I heard she was scammed overseas, losing all her money in one night. Unable to bear the blow, she jumped from a building. He also said that after I left, he'd thought a lot and finally understood why I had left, disappointed. For all these years, although he had been helping me, subconsciously, he had thought of it as charity, so he took all my compromises for granted. Now he understood that it was unfair to me. He apologized, saying he wasn't by my side when I needed him the most. He had killed my hope and foolishly expected me to continue loving him. At the end of it, he buried his face in his hands, crying hopelessly. He said he couldn't accept it, that he had once had the best 7 years, but had lost me. He asked if I could give him one more chance. He knew he was wrong. During those years when we relied on each other, I had promised to always be by his side. And I had truly sworn that promise. But time is the most terrifying enemy. It transforms the sweetness of the past into something unrecognizable and crushes sincerity. It makes us forget promises, and the people we once loved become unrecognizable. I silently handed him the noodles. They had been cooked too long, and the noodles had turned soft and clumped together. I didn't add any salt, and when he tasted them, he frowned. But he said nothing, quietly finishing the entire bowl of noodles, even drinking every drop of soup. I think he understood what I meant. The good times of the past should stay in the memory, and being too obsessed with them only leads to an awkward end. He smiled and stood up, giving me a gentle hug. Goodbye, Heather. Thank you for loving me. This time, I graduated successfully. I found a job I liked and stayed in the city. I started slowly forgetting the past, only occasionally seeing Alexis's name in the news. He was very capable, and his company continued to grow. I could barely remember what he looked like anymore. I thought that he and I would always forget each other, lost to time. Until 2 years later, I received a video call from Alexis's mother. Alexis was lying on a hospital bed, quietly staring at the camera. He had become so thin that he looked unrecognizable. If not for his faint breathing, I would have suspected he was already dead. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and she begged me to come and see him. I heard he had stomach cancer, and by the time it was discovered, it was already in the late stages. She said that on his deathbed, he kept calling my name. Despite being tortured by pain, he was fixated on seeing me one last time. After hanging up, I felt a heavy weight on my chest, like something was blocking my breath. I never forgave him, but seeing him suffer like this, it would be a lie to say it didn't hurt. I took leave and booked a flight. 7 years together, not just 7 days. I couldn't bear to watch him die with regret. I couldn't let that be the end. On the day of departure, the sky was overcast, with light rain falling. It was just like the day I returned to my home country with him. But this time, what awaited me was the end of all love and hate. When I arrived at the hospital, Alexis was barely hanging on. He was so emaciated that he no longer resembled the person he once was. His eyes had lost their former shine and were now dull and lifeless. He weakly raised a hand, signaling for me to come closer. His voice was so faint that I had to lean in close to hear. He said, "I'm sorry. In this life, I've failed you. Let's not meet in the next one." He also said, "I'm leaving the company to you. It's all I have left to give you." After I nodded with tears in my eyes, he had the lawyer, who had been waiting nearby, bring the agreement for me to sign. My hand trembled as I held the pen, and my tears smeared the name I had just written. When the final stroke was made, his mother rushed into the room from outside. She pulled me to the floor, gritting her teeth and cursing at me. "Heather, my son is like this, and you're still thinking about his company. You're such a vile person. As long as I'm alive, don't you dare dream of it." A woman in her 60s, she was on top of me, tearing at my clothes in a frenzy. Alexis struggled to hold himself up and spoke urgently. "Mom, can't you let me leave in peace?" Alexis didn't pass away peacefully. Before his death, he coughed up a lot of blood, staining the entire bed with a bright red color. He was buried not far from my brother. On the day of the burial, Alexis's mother cried and begged me to visit him more often in the future. She and her husband had decided to emigrate. Alexis left them all his money and property, enough for them to live comfortably in their old age. After that, I never saw or heard from them again. Our final separation was a mutual respect for one another. Once everything was settled, I successfully took over the company. It was difficult at first, but fortunately, the people who remained had, to some extent, benefited from Alexis's kindness. So, everyone was supportive of me. Gradually, the company got back on track. The only surprise was Jennifer. When someone you thought had been dead for a long time suddenly appears in front of you, it's hard to describe the shock. Her face was terrifying. Although she wore a mask, the skin exposed showed numerous scars. She looked gaunt, and compared to before, she seemed to have aged at least 10 years. It was midsummer, but she wore long sleeves and pants. As she reached out, the bruises on her exposed arms were clearly visible. She was holding a ragged little boy by the hand, who was timidly peeking out from behind her, looking at me. She told me that after being scammed out of all her money, she had seriously considered ending her life. She had stood on a rooftop, ready to jump, but someone had grabbed her from behind and stopped her. Later, she married the man who saved her, thinking she would have a stable life. But shortly after they married, she found out she was pregnant. Judging by the timing, it was after her last encounter with Alexis. She apologized for having deceived me back then. But I no longer cared. After all, Alexis was gone. What difference did it make whether she had lied or not? I wasn't going to dig up Alexis's grave and ask him why he lied to me. I looked closely at the little boy behind her and suddenly smiled. There was definitely a resemblance to Alexis in his features. Whether or not he was Alexis's son couldn't be confirmed, nor did it matter. Jennifer asked me for some money. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing her arms covered in scars. She said that married life had been a nightmare. Whenever her husband was upset, he would beat her. She had no choice but to secretly return to her home country with her son, fearing she would be beaten to death if she stayed. I sighed, took a bank card from the drawer, and tossed it at her feet. There were 100,000 on the card, the only amount I could give her. I told her to take the money and leave quickly. I didn't pity her, but the child was too young, and following her would only bring him more suffering. This money should be enough for her to start a small business and support herself and her son. But from now on, I didn't want to see her again. If she came back to find me, I would have her arrested for extortion. Tears filled her eyes as she took her child and left without looking back. In the days that followed, I focused on running the company. I began to enjoy life, and during my free time, I would carry a bag and travel around. There were also many suitors around me, and I wasn't opposed to quality men. But love was no longer my priority. After all, I had a lot to focus on now. I also made a lot of good friends, and we would have fun and cause trouble together. The most recent trip I took was with a newly made close friend. We set up a tent by a beautiful mountain and river. We sat around, taking turns posing for photos for each other. But we also complained about each other's photography skills. In the midst of our complaints, someone said, "I wish I had a handsome boyfriend to take our pictures." We all looked over to the opposite tent, where several young, handsome guys were holding up coffee cups and looking at us. We exchanged glances and started playing rock paper scissors. Whoever lost had to go ask for the other's phone number. We laughed and played, happier than ever. Not far off, birds were circling in the sky. The air was filled with a sense of freedom. It turned out that people live only for themselves, and it's so peaceful and carefree. End of the story.
This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel Love Short Story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.